So if you could share, what were your worries or concern before you participated in the masterclass?
I can kind of go based off a person who's never in their life prepared for college. Because I never did. Like, I never looked at a college. I never thought about a college, because at 17, I joined the Marine Corps, and I was like, I didn't have to worry about it. So when I'm thinking about my daughter going to college, I'm like, I have absolutely no idea which way to go. So just knowing the process is huge, because it gives me a little bit of a guiding factor as to how to help navigate with her. And with your class, it also opened my eyes as to what could be going through her head, which as parents, sometimes we forget to get into the psyche of the other person, because we're too busy parenting. And I felt that the course was very, very informative in the sense of, like, it really helped me understand my position in this whole thing, which is not a driving force, but rather a supporting force.
So for me, it was more about, I grew up in a household where, of course, it was mandatory to go to college, but I didn't get to choose where I wanted to go. I was told, this is where you're going to apply. This is where, and then eventually when I got back my acceptance letters, this is where you're going to go, and this is what you're going to take up. You're going to be a doctor. I definitely knew ahead of time that I didn't want that for Jade, for my daughter. Yeah, I think my biggest worry was, how do I make sure that I encourage her, but also push her, but not push her too hard.
The depth of that class really covered more than just how do you get to college. The depth of the class covered a whole lot of, like, how do I navigate this with a teenager?
I mean, you also set the stage, Sonja, for us with, the pre-email about kind of what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I even shared that out with some of my friends and said, hey, you have kids about the same age, this is what the course will cover. So everything that you said you would cover, you did. And so I think I already had those expectations, and then you just met them while we took that course.
And you kind of definitely opened my eyes as to what today colleges care about. Like, is the person authentic? Are they their own person? Is this person what my school represents or what the university represents? I mean, those are things that I would have never thought about in 1,000 years without your class. Like, I would have never thought about the fact of, like, am I authentic?
That one point that you brought up that I didn't even think about is that they do factor in, will you fit well in our community? And what have you done for the community? And so that aspect actually kind of eased my worries.
We're not reacting to college admissions. We're not pushing our kids towards requirements. We're just trying to identify who they are as they are, and saying, how can we push them to be who they are at the greatest level that they possibly can? What did it feel like to be in a virtual room with other parents you did not know? What was that like?
Welcoming.
Yeah. Positive for sure, knowing that we're not alone in this, and that there are other parents who share the same worries and concerns as we do.
To see other parents have that same thought, I'm like, yeah, that's amazing, because honestly, I just never thought I would be thinking about it at these young ages.
Yeah.
But you are.
Okay, so I guess my last question is, what would be that one takeaway that you think was something that you would love to look for more, like the one takeaway from the masterclass saying, this is what I would love to have more of. This was powerful stuff.
Like, the biggest thing that I understood was how to understand my high school student. You kind of talked a lot about, like, these kids are taking AP classes, or they're taking honors classes, or, they're exploring themselves. And they're trying to navigate this high school life at the same time planning the future life. And how do we as parents fit into all that? When you're not knowledgeable in the subject, you're a driver. But as you learn it and you start to break down the differences in how that child is going to go and navigate this. And you learn your role in that navigation, to the drive, the push, sometimes you just support. The biggest takeaway to me is just understanding the process and how to understand my own child and what they're going through.
And the full course, so it's a 12-session course, but that's exactly what we do, like hand to hand. So we meet, because the masterclass that you guys participated in was an overview summary. And so then the next thing would be like, module 1, how do we become the wow factor in our kids, right? So this is definitely like reflecting more on what's going on with your bias. Where'd that come from? Like, spend some time in your past, because you got to dig that stuff up, because it is right here as the driver. And some of us don't know it, or some of us recognize it. We just don't know how to shut it off. And then the following week is, here is an assignment you're doing with your teen next week. You're going to engage in this conversation. And I've built agendas and worksheets, journals, what's appropriate. Like, this is the conversation you're having with your teen. And then you're going to take it back to the group and say, how did it go? So I'm going to model the pace. And I'm going to, so for those that say, this is really good, but I just don't know what to do next, that you're probably going to get more of that. So I'm really excited that you're really craving that. So, and then Katrina, how about you? Biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway, I actually even wrote it down and I was going to share it with you. Something you said, let them talk, don't talk, be silent, and that we tend to focus on outcomes. Like, if you do this, you'll get this. So that really resonated with me. Like I said, I wrote it because it really hit me during that master class when you said, focus on work ethic and praising. So I've been trying to do that more, trying to let her talk to me about it. Like, maybe I'll bring up a topic, but unlike my parents who told me exactly what I had to do and I had to follow this way or that way or do this and do that, I'm trying to think about my past and unwind that and follow what you said in terms of letting her do the talking, and in a way while I'm guiding her, letting her kind of make her own decisions, and has really encouraged me to be more of an encourager and a listener.
I think your personal touch
and experience,
given the history, like your experience and kind of how you showed your mistakes, which is fine. I mean, because that's how we learn. We all learn from something. But German, how you navigated it, and now you have a very successful daughter who is doing great with her life. That in itself gives relevance to where we're at right now. I think as parents, it shows that we are always scared about the decisions that we make and the outcome that it might produce, with the hopes that the outcomes are always going to be the best case scenario. Right. And every decision that we make, we look at it and go, was it the right decision? But it also shows in your ability to share that maybe the decision wasn't right, but what'd you do afterwards to mitigate what occurred or to build upon it, to make that student, that child, your child successful?
And then just that last thing, because the other so hugely important is I feel this need to break the stereotype or the myth that just because we have teenagers doesn't mean they can be disconnected from us. Yeah. That, they're not supposed to like me. They're teenagers. They're supposed to be disconnected. And it's not that. Why are we accepting that? They should be as close to us, but it changes in terms of closeness. Yeah. And then, of course, it's so dramatic when, we have to let them go. I'm not ready. Well, you should be ready because the emotional connection's there. Mm-hmm. And so like what you're saying is how we recover is building that trust and the intimacy with these soon to be young adults, so that we are in their lives as close as when they were toddlers. It just looks completely different.
Without people like you, we would be a little lost, or we would just be, I don't know what the term is, but like just kind of floating along, wondering if we're doing the right thing or moving in the right direction. So thank you.